So today we're going to do a recap of the first two classes, and I have sent out recordings of excerpts from those classes. When I had teach free classes, people need to make it their business to show up at the free class. So if you didn't show up at the free class, you could get an excerpt from those 2 days, and that's 2 hours of free coaching. If you want the whole class recording, you need to sign up and follow the emails that tell you to fill out the discovery quiz. If you complete the discovery quiz, I will send you the full class. All right, the first class, we looked at how do you know you're ready to write a solo show? Because you're a natural storyteller and you got something to say and you're tired of hearing other people's stories. We looked at how to monetize a solo show. We looked at how to build a platform for your solo show so you can create a following, and how to raise money. And that following will help you raise money. In the second class yesterday, we talked about, I'm wearing my cat's grass, thanks. We talked about what is a solo show, and that a lot of times we don't write because our idea of a solo show is so limited. And we looked at a story that Ariana Rose told on a stand-up night at the Moth. And she just stood there and told a story. That's all solo work is. It don't need to be in a theater. It could be at a podium. It could be in a church. It's every time you stand up and tell a story. Every time you sit down and tell a story. That's a solo show. And today, we're going to look at, and Ariana Rose's solo show was first person. All right? So, she's like, this is what happened to me. And she took a story from the past and brought it to the present because it was alive in her, along with the writing being really beautiful. Today, we're going to look at some samples of one-person shows where people become different characters. That's the first one we're going to look at. And then the next one is when people become different characters who then interact with each other in a scene. Okay? The first one that we're going to look at is an excerpt from Whoopi Goldberg's show, her first Broadway show. Why don't we get in there and do that? Let's do that. Oh, and you can look in chat and go to, there's a page where you can load this yourself and watch it. If you go to, wherever it is in there, thedreamunlock.com/12 class package. If you go to thedreamunlock.com, you'll see the link up at the top. And you can watch these videos along with me. So first, let's look at the Whoopster. That's my girl. I did solo work because of her influence. Okay.
I just wanted to work as an actor. I wasn't able to get a lot of jobs outside of the group I was in. And at the time, people didn't really think young women of color could do a lot. I don't know what that means, but I know that I had to write a show so they could see what I was capable of doing. And there was the Valley Girl and the little old lady and the lady with the disability and all of the characters I created.
I was on the beach with like all my friends, or like all my friends with me. I don't know, we were all together. This total hunk Ola, okay, this total hunk comes over to me and he goes like, hi. And I was totally not ready for like this heavy conversation. Okay? So like, I said hi and he said hi and he said hi, okay? So like then he said he was having a party and did I want to go? So I said okay and he said okay and we said okay.
So I came to New York and I did it. And
Great. Now there's another part of the structure of Whoopi's show that's also interesting, is that instead of one continuous story, she tells 5 separate stories. So they are essentially 5 monologues that are each monologue is a fully realized story with a hero, a conflict, and then the resolution of the conflict, right? So she tells 5 small stories. And that's also a different solo show structure. Let's talk about this structure where somebody actually becomes a character, as opposed to Ariana Rose's, where she just stood there as if she was reading from her memoir. She just talked about, her first great love. Becoming somebody else. Let me tell you. Not everybody is a solo performer. A lot of theaters won't do solo shows because they're like, audiences hate one person standing up there regurgitating about their life. Like, we don't want to go to therapy. Here's the thing: great solo work, there is not just one person on that stage. There's about 20 or 30, if the person knows what they're doing. It ain't for everybody, right? It's for people who completely transform into the character, right? Most people are really good at playing people close to themselves, right? Solo performers become men, women, handicapped people, gay people, queer people, straight people, racist people. They become people who are far outside of their physical experience of who they are. And you wouldn't think they knew that. Just like Whoopi said, oh yeah, they thought women of color couldn't do these things. So of course we can transform. We're not given roles where we do, but of course we can. And that's what Whoopi does in her show. 5 monologues, 5 major characters. Other people drop in and talk to her, but mostly it is her character talking, telling a complete story in about 15 minutes. Right? And each story they're unrelated to each other. Okay? That's our first format. What do you guys like about that format?
I love the format because it represents the world. It represents everybody. I mean, I don't care what you look at. You can look at the insurrection or on January 6th. I those people, some of those people, I grew up with them. I know them. They love whatever. And it's like, I love that point of view. And I got friends who are like, oh, what you talking about? No, I understand where they are. What I'm saying is they were committed and passionate about making this country great in their point of view. So that's why I love the different characters, because it's like we all have a God right here. But you might have take this road, I take that road, I take that road, but it's still this one God. And back to the January 6th thing, I'm like, that's half my damn class, the high school class up there. But they think they're what is it? The guys from 1776, they think they're gonna make this country greater. And I that's what I love. Just because I've traveled through so many places, I love that.
You can't argue with someone until you understand where they're coming from. The level
Exactly.
of empathy. My doctor said something really interesting to me. He said, he said, remember when Barack Obama became president? How you felt? Okay. All those people felt
Felt
seen.
the same way.
All those people felt the same way.
Yeah, yeah,
Trump was
yeah.
elected.
Yes, yes,
Obama was elected. Many white people were terrified for their lives. Good,
yes.
bad, or indifferent don't make sense. Hey, they need to read a history book, blah, 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 whatever. The actual fear and
Mhm,
panic and paranoia
mhm.
is real.
It's
A
real.
paranoia that became a religious fervor to choose anybody that wasn't going to come and kill them,
Exactly.
right? The
But
same way I felt and many of my friends felt when Trump was elected. We're going to be dragged in the streets.
but
Now,
I know people
whether
that
any of
cried.
that is true,
Mm.
you have to acknowledge what's going on for people. And that group of working class white folks, upper middle class white folks, um, don't feel like they've had a voice in their country. because they don't understand or see themselves as privileged at all. They just think it's all an equal playing field, right? It's a point of view. Great solo performers can embody a different
Yeah.
point of view and find the humanity in that. But you have to become that person. You have to argue their point of view within an inch of your life, right? It's a chameleon kind of um, it's a kind of acting where you step so deeply into the other person that your crafting is not you working on something from your own life. In Meisner, you use a lot of what ifs in your own life to create behavior in the Meisner technique of acting. Real chameleon type stuff like that. I was trained as a Meisner actor when I started doing solo work. I really couldn't use so much of what I learned in Meisner. I had to learn to interview my characters and become them, become their fears, become their hopes, become their wishes, become their dreams, become the things that they don't say, that they feel deeply. And they're operating from that pain and that reality.
Like
Their
method.
reality is the only reality that exists. It's really hard to do. It requires a lot of research of not only the people that you're writing about, but also the world that they came from. And you need to know about important moments in their lives. And you need to have listened to them a long time and done some therapy so that you can start to create behavior. You know, if they had things happen to them like everybody in my family's in Florida, they've always carried guns because the Klan used to hang people on lampposts in front of their door. All right. So that's the reality of my family. And every decade we've lived through a race riot. They slaughtered an innocent black person and then put us under martial law. That's my family's reality. So when I go home, everybody got a gun. Grandma got two or three. They come to the door with a gun. Well, I didn't grow up. That's not true. I grew up on my street, about 2 blocks away. There was a Klan rally. My family proceeded to get their guns with their neighbors and shut that down in a mixed neighborhood. That's no. But I didn't grow up with the Klan could come to my house tonight and drag me out in the street. So when I started doing solo work and becoming different people, I had to really go do some work around what does it do to you to grow up that way? It's not like my life. I have opportunity. I can work or not work. I went to college. I've had therapy. I have, I can get up. I don't like it here. Oh, I didn't like Florida. Oh, too many guns. There's too much racism. I'm packing my bags going to New York. It's the world I grew up in. Lots of options, lots of choices. What is it to grow up in a completely segregated world with no choices? And where you are being hunted and could die for being a particular color any day, anytime. What kind of person does that make you? What kind of person does it make you that you get off from work, you go to your house, and your brother is being hung from a tree in your front yard? You cut him down, call the doctor. The doctor won't treat him because he's black. So you go in there and you put some herbs around his neck, go and cook dinner, and everybody sits down to eat. What kind of person grows up in that? That's the kind of research that I had to do in my show, for my show, and for Gilbert Alley, my multi-character play, because those women had a different psychological makeup than I did. Right? Somebody broke into our house. My grandmother got the gun, ran him out, shot at him, closed the door back, and went back to bed. I had to go see my therapist. I don't know what it is. I was like, and I'm gonna have to get some melatonin. And I was like, Grandma, girl, we gotta call the police. She's like, he ain't coming back. I said, go, why not? I put a cap in his ass. I was like, that is how it's dealt with. The end. Or you don't open your door to a white person after 6 p.m. Right? There is something about solo work that is difficult because you have to leave yourself behind, but also amazing to see in a theater someone actually becomes someone else, because we all talk about empathy and stepping in somebody else's shoes. We rarely do. But a really great solo performer psychologically becomes that person. So when you go see that show, you are watching 20 different people on that stage, not just one. Now we're going to look at an example of a solo show. The structure is different from Whoopi's in that instead of 5 little solo shows, she did 5 different stories. This is one play. All right? And it's not just one person talking, it's the story of a family. So you meet 20, 30 people. You have 6 or 7 protagonists and a whole community around them. And you have one person doing this show. And within those stories in that show, sometimes it's a monologue, sometimes it's a scene between 2 or 3 people. Now, nobody in their right mind sets out to do a show like that. It's really hard. But I did. And we're going to talk about how I did that a little bit. And we're going to watch a clip. Okay. Let me pause this